these platforms are going to disrupt the traditional world order in a way like we have never seen before. We were not around in the early 1900s when telephone, electricity, and the automobile disrupted the existing world order.
I'm convinced that we will destroy, unfortunately, a lot of employment. Just think of self-guided cars and all the drivers losing their jobs. Let's look at the bank employees and so on.
If you're left behind, you're facing something far worse, which is to be completely irrelevant. They won't even need you as a serf or as a slave.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again.
Some of these tokens are going to be securities, some aren't. I think the ones that are securities are very likely to end up, under SEC jurisdiction, at least, as much as you look at like the issuance, as you look at the, spot trading of them. I think those that aren't securities, when you look at the trading of them, those are likely to end up under, CFTC jurisdiction. That sort of, is what the laws have said, and it's been clear. I'm obviously not a regulator. I can't say for sure what tokens are what. But, reading sort of what we've seen, I think you're certainly going to see, some of the largest tokens, certainly including Bitcoin, likely Ethereum, end up not as securities. I think you're going to see a lot of the assets, especially when you look at longer tail assets, look like securities.
So you don't think some of the biggest ones, I mean, he said very specifically he thinks most of them, and I would assume that means Bitcoin and all of these that we talk about on a daily basis. You don't think that they should be monitored or should be regulated by the SEC?
Oh, I'm not sure I disagree with Chair Gensler on this. I think if you look at his comments, I think, and I don't remember the details, that he explicitly was not talking about Bitcoin in that case. And, I think that, I can't speak for him, but that I think that a lot of them are going to be securities. I think that there are going to be, some, I think especially when you look at the most liquid ones, that are not securities. I would guess that the SEC would agree with, with at least some of that. I don't want to speak for them, but I don't know for sure exactly where each token will end up. But I'm not sure that I have a disagreement with them over that.
The reason for the pivot is going to be a massive amount of deflation in the system. It's already here. If you look at commodity prices, the gold price, for example, it actually peaked in August of 2020, and it's at the lower end of a 2-year range. While copper has broken down, oil is breaking down, lumber has crashed, iron ore as well. Freight rates out there are suggesting that the supply chains are loosening up quite significantly. The rates are coming down. So we've got deflation in the system. And the way I describe what's going on right now, I was in my early days in my career in the early 80s when Volcker was taking a sledgehammer to inflation because it was embedded in the system after 15 years of profligate spending, Vietnam War, Great Society, and then going off the gold exchange standard. A sledgehammer, that's what he needed. That is what I believe Chairman Powell thinks he needs. And we just don't think that's true because we see so much deflation. And then one more thing. We also see a massive inventory overhang around the world. You've got Europe in recession, China in recession effectively. And here in the United States, retailers are bulging with inventories, which will have to be cleared with discounts. So we think we're going to see some major downside surprises in inflation during the next 3 to 6 months. The Fed is looking at the PCE deflator, which peaked in February at 5.3%. It's down to 4.6%. And we believe we've already seen some negative numbers. Nobody believes them. We do. And we believe we're going to see some more negative numbers during the next 3 to 6 months. So wouldn't be surprised to see it well down into the threes in the next 3 to 6 months, if not into that 2 handle. And I think if we get enough sequential declines, that the Fed will change its tune quite dramatically.
Wow, that is a...
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have Bankman says he agrees with Gary Gensler. that a lot of the cryptos are securities. And we know the bank man already has a list. We know he's an NWO puppet right along with Gary Gensler. And we have Cathie Woods talking about the Fed, saying that they're going to pivot in 3 to 6 months. But guys, we know that's not true. It's all about the fourth industrial revolution. That's the reason why she's invested in the robots, algorithms, and drones that take over the economy. And yes, we will go through hyper-deflation, but not just yet.
A big deal. You're talking about 2% inflation within 3 to 6 months over in the coming year.
Well, I think that the Fed will be looking at the sequential numbers, many of which will be negative, and that will encourage them. Even if we don't have that 2 handle, we're in the 3s and we're coming down quickly, I think they'll change their tune, and perhaps they will take interest rates up 75 basis points this time, but the next time 25 to 50 basis points, and then following that, we shall see.
And this expectation that we would see a pivot, that the Fed would blink, essentially sparked that pretty good rally in the month of July. But what is it going to mean for the macro story, Cathie, and your view on profits? Because we've got
profits are going to be under tremendous pressure. And until some of these cost declines make it through and inventories are cleared. Now, we do not think this will be anything like 08, 09, which I know many people fear. We think it's much more of an inventory recession and a drag from the rest of the world, Europe being crushed by energy prices, China being or readjusting to quote unquote common prosperity. So I think it'll be more of an inventory recession. And, there's been a lot of denial that we are in recession. We think we are. We think it's an inventory recession and that we'll be coming out next year, whereas many people, forecasters are saying we'll be going in next year. So I actually think the market will be looking up as we're exiting this year.
Your thematic ETFs and where you are seeing the most growth. You're focused on technological innovations in DNA sequencing, in robotics, artificial intelligence, energy storage, and blockchain technology. Tell me what you see coming in the coming 6 to 12 months and how you want to be allocating capital today.
Well, I think our strategy has been hurt very, very much, as have most growth strategies, by the fears associated with inflation and higher interest rates. And as I mentioned, we think that's going to turn around. We see the growth coming out of these 5 platforms. These are 5 innovation platforms. These are exponential growth trajectories. And we faced a lot of COVID-related comparison issues in stocks like Roku, Teladoc, Zoom, and so forth. So there's been a lot of confusion on very short-term indicators in the market. But the explosive growth is there. It has happened, and we think it's going to continue. We see that in the global public equity markets, truly disruptive innovation, which is all we focus on, is priced at roughly $8 trillion in value in the markets today. That number, we believe, is going to more than 200 trillion during the next 8 to 10 years. So it's going from less than 10% of the global public equity market to what we believe will be 60%. And the reason we believe that it will move to that level is because these platforms are going to disrupt the traditional world order in a way like we have never seen before. We were not around in the early 1900s when telephone, electricity, and the automobile disrupted the existing world order. These are 5 platforms, not 3, and they involve 14 different technologies. So we do extensive research. I think we do the best research, if I might say, because of our sole focus on it. And we give that research away because we want people to understand how their lives are going to change and how their children's, grandchildren's lives are going to change, and how important it is for all of us to get on the right side of change.
Not only are corporate profits going to take a hit, but remember, guys, they're going to have that 15% tax. And we already know who's really going to pay for that. That's right, the sheep, the consumer. And Cathie Woods says not going to be like 2008 and 2009, that we're already in a recession. But, guys, we know it's going to be worse We're about to go through the Great Depression. We know the NWO has to destroy this legacy market in order for the fourth industrial revolution to rise. Just like she said, it's going to be a new world order. And remember, the Cryptoteacher wrote about it a long time ago because he knows when it comes to the new world order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.